Hello, and welcome to week 28 of my journey through the Milan Art Institute Mastery Program. This video is going to be a little bit longer than the other weeks because I kind of have a lot to say. That's not just about the program, but about sort of my art as well. So this week we looked at Dimitri's process, which was just fat over lean mostly, with a bit of collage. She likes to collage some poetry into her work. So that, and then moving into portfolio, Ellie talked a bit about sort of what it is to be a professional artist, and in terms of what kind of work you're producing and stuff. So she talked about, so first we explored the diversity of subjects, called diversity of subjects and your archetypes. So that was at the beginning of the program, well, earlier in the voice section, we had these little circles and we went around and we wrote what kind of subjects we'd like to paint and how we like to paint them. You know, is it women, right? How do you like to paint them? Bold and, you know, looking at the viewer and dynamic and colorful and strong, and, you know, rather than sleepy and wafy and passive, you know, right? So we revisited that, but I guess we've kind of come back to it with more knowledge now. Now that we've been able to explore those subjects that we had initially put down earlier in the program, now we can come back with a little bit more knowledge, I guess you could say. I think when I first did it, what I had down was kind of just gave me ideas for collections, different collections that I could do, exploring different ways of rendering certain aspects, or, you know, emphasis on, you know, maybe more collage or working with sort of certain motifs. But going back to it this time, we were revisiting it with a emphasis on, like, what's my style? Like, given my archetype and my personality types, how do I render that subject matter that is uniquely me? And sort of what are the symbols that I use, or what's the vocabulary that I use that's uniquely, you know, my artistic vocabulary. So you kind of come back at it with a little bit of a different bent, a little bit of a different focus. And then she talked about pushing the envelope. So I guess it's kind of like you kind of go through and you figure out what are the characteristics or the aspects of your work or your process that you love, that you totally love. They're here for the long haul. You're going to keep doing them. You want to keep doing them. And then what are certain aspects that you could get rid of, potentially to make the work more sellable? You know, you can kind of take it or leave it, or certain aspects to your process or subject matter that you just totally hate working with and you definitely just want to get rid of it. For me, obviously, it's probably apparent by now, but I like to paint women. I like to paint them kind of bold and strong, and a little bit confrontational. You know, oftentimes they're looking at the viewer. There's a lot of emotion. I like to use collage in my work, and I often collage like parts of my own journals in there, and it makes for a really nice detail when you get up close to look at it. I have a somewhat specific color palette. I really love purples and blues and pinks, and that's probably not gonna go away. So looking back, so I was looking at one of my old paintings from, I don't even know when this is. I think it's from like 2017, like before I even learned how to paint, and I was just painting for fun. I've seen this painting a lot, but I've never really kind of stopped to look at it in relation to my current work. But if you want to know what's here for the long haul, look back at your really old work. So let's see if we can show this. Okay, so this is a self-portrait that I did, probably from about 2017. And let's just make note of the colors. We've got blue, purple, there's gold here, pinks, and teal. Love this teal. So that's been pretty consistently in my work ever since then. Again, they're faces, they're portraits, and the eyes. So the hair is kind of, I love that sort of wavy curly hair and sort of rendering the highlights, and then the dark points where it recedes, and it's these sort of unnatural colors, and also the eyes as well. So These eyes are actually fairly, they're not totally normal colors, but people do have green eyes and blue eyes and brown eyes. So I didn't go too crazy with the eyes, but sort of having the eyes be a different color than the hair, having this sort of overblown color. And of course, this is before I even actually knew how to do portraits or learned how to draw or paint portraits. So when we look back at this, certain aspects of my work have been present right from the beginning. So I think that those aspects will continue. In terms of, evolving the work, what's here to stay, what's here to leave, those will become permanent features of my work. If you see, a lady with funky colored hair and funky colored eyes, it might be mine. And then other things that I'd be willing to compromise on or get rid of to make it a bit more sellable. Being a D type, I like a lot of contrast. I like it bold, but that doesn't mean it needs to be crazy colorful. So a lot of my work up until now has been just color. Everything's just color. There's not necessarily any stark white and stark black. So when Ellie talks about taste and refining your taste, I kind of think, okay, maybe I need to bring more neutrals in, but I don't like browns. I don't love browns and tans. So I may just bring more black and white in to sort of amp the contrast, enable it to be neutrals so that I don't just have like a whole painting that is pink and purple. Because a lot of people like my work, they look at it, but then what they buy is the stuff that's actually, more toned down. It's the stuff that's not my favorite work. And sometimes I'm kind of surprised at what people buy and what doesn't sell, because my favorite works like don't sell. So it's really interesting. Then the other lesson was about pushing the envelope, which is taking an aspect of your work and taking it and just like wrenching up the dial on it and taking it to a 10. So that could be done with color, right? I could just go crazy with the color, but I think I've decided to actually tone down the color and just have, like, Tanya Obu calls them spicy colors. So I'll have it kind of fairly neutral and then like a bit of spicy color. So the whole painting isn't spicy colors. But what I am going to ratchet up, so I like my ladies kind of strong and bold and direct and with some attitude. And like when I look at the source photos that I like, they do. They've got tattoos, they've got piercings, they've got funky colored hair. Love like the scene hair. So what I'm going to do is ratchet up the attitude. And I've really been, so this behind me is, I took a break for 3 weeks and actually did a 100 painting challenge because again, I felt like, how am I going to be ready for portfolio? I've got no idea what I'm doing. So I felt like, I just have to like make a ton of work and then I'll figure it out. So this is the 100 painting challenge behind me. And I made a series of stencils so that they weren't just abstract paintings, but that I could get the figures in. And these ones where the girl is like flipping you off, these ones are actually my favorite. And this one as well. This is a liner print that I did when she's flipping you off. So I think I'm going to ratchet up the attitude, dial that up to a 10, and we're just going to do a bunch of paintings of women flipping you off. And so hopefully people like that. Because it makes me happy. So so the assignment for this week is to paint 2 more paintings. And given the information that we've gotten now, I'm going to make these new paintings in this sort of style that I'm trying to settle down into, really. Because I can do anything, and my personality is such that everything is a bit of an experiment. But if you want a cohesive style that's really, really consistent, and I can't just be experimenting all over the place with every single painting. You want to follow the same process with the same palette and the same subject matter, and maybe just change up the composition, and then you'll get like a really consistent portfolio. So instead of making 2 paintings, I'm going to make 6 because I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing, and I still feel like I just need to make more and more work. And then the other thing that we have to do this week, well, there's 2 weeks of break coming up, and during those 2 weeks of break, we need to make 20 to 40 sources. And Then when we come back from break, we're gonna pick 10 of those to do our it's like a 10 painting challenge or something. So anyway, I'll try these black and white paintings with the spicy color, and I'll be back in like 1 second through the magic of video editing. Okay, so here I just wanted to show you what I've done is I've painted in the backgrounds, and then I'm actually photographing the backgrounds so that when I go to create my sources in the future, I can actually use one of my already painted backgrounds as a base for the source, and and I know how I made that background, and I know I can repeat it and get the similar effect. So I just wanted to show you that's a really good tip for when it comes to creating your own sources. Okay, we're back through the magic of video editing. It's been a week and I've done my paintings, so I've done 6. And basically, as I said earlier in the video, the idea behind this was to essentially have kind of the background is gray, and then the face is sort of all these neutral colors, and then the contrast between having sort of the neutral colors is that the hair and the nails and the eyes are quite bright, and so those colors really stand out more than if the whole painting was really colorful. So it really kind of draws your attention to that. And I quite like it. I think working this way, having the same process for each painting, and sort of having, knowing what color scheme I'm using, it speeds things up a bit because you can just do everything all at once and you're not spending too much time thinking about it. And this was a big piece that I did. This is A2, so it's actually not even that big. But I really like this. So there's a lot of layers. I used a lot of glaze and layers to build up the darks on this one. So actually you can see, a lot of the brush strokes are still just really visible, and it's quite rough and quick to do. So I actually really love this one. But because it's so cropped in, it feels a little bit different than these ones, where you've got the background and you can have some stencil patterns or do like a dirty spray like this one has. So they kind of still don't feel like they feel consistent, like they could be made from the same artist, but maybe they're not necessarily in the same series because maybe they're not similar enough. I don't know. So one of the things I did was I photographed all these and then I put them in an in situ app. And then I could pretend that they were bigger paintings up on the wall, and I could see how they would look bigger, and sort of how they would command the space in a room, and also, put them all up together and sort of see how, how cohesive it looks and whether they look good together. And I think they do. So if you want to see those pictures, you can head over to my blog on my website, and that's where I put those pictures up. So yeah, I guess that is this week, and I like it, and I do feel like as a starting point for my style, I could just keep working like this, and then just gradually evolve it and just gradually kind of experiment with one aspect of it at a time and explore that. Have sort of just play around with the backgrounds a little bit or play around with other things. So the next step is to make 20 sources. And to do production week, which is 10 pieces in a week. And I'm still not, so I've been doing a lot of craft fairs, and my stall, it's very colorful, and it's a lot of pinks and purples and jewel tones, and everyone loves it. Like, I love the look of my stall, and this artwork, I'm just not sure how this artwork is going to look at a stall. It may not be received as well. It may not attract as much attention. So I'm going to do, for production week, I'm actually going to do 20 pieces, and I'm going to do the same composition, and I'm going to do this, I think this is about the same color scheme, and I'm going to do probably 10 works on panel and 10 works on paper, and A/B test this. So it'll be the same image, and one will be sort of full color, which is kind of like my old style, what I was doing before the Milan program. And the other one will be this sort of gray background with the neutrals, and then I will be able to see exactly how people respond to each one and whether there's one that sort of sells better or people are more drawn to or whatever, and I can get like really good feedback just isolating this one aspect of sort of doing the grays. So I think yeah, going through the program is probably going to start to slow down. I figured it would take me about 18 months to get through it, just because of all the other stuff I'm doing. And at this rate, like, you know, essentially producing twice as much work as what I've been assigned to produce, it's going to slow down. But I think I'll get more out of it. So that is this week, and I'm just going to go make some sources, and then I'll see you we've got like a break for 2 weeks, so see you in week 30, 31. I'm not good with numbers. If you like what you see, you can always subscribe to my channel on YouTube, follow my blog, get on my email list, all that good stuff. All right, have a good week.